بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Today's benefit بإذن we are going through the 4 benefits taken from Surah Al-Asr. We previously talked about knowledge. The second point that the author makes is acting upon that knowledge. Now Shaykh Al-Qāsim, may Allah have mercy, may Allah preserve him, has mentioned many aqwal again of the ulama and of the salaf regarding acting upon that knowledge. The first benefit that he mentions is that by acting upon that knowledge, this will help you better retain that knowledge and keep it firm in your heart. Hence he mentions some of the salaf would say كنا نستعين على حفظ الحديث بالعمل به. We used to seek aid in memorizing a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ by acting upon that hadith. That's how we would seek aid in learning. And this we see so many times. For example, a dua that we might have learned when we were younger, such as entering the masjid. If you are from those who constantly repeat it, then you'll know that dua. But if you are from those who never say it, even if you learned it when you were young, most likely you have forgotten it now. So this shows the importance of practicing that knowledge that you have. The second benefit that the Shaykh mentions is that acting upon that knowledge is also a means of your iman increasing. Because you know iman increases and it decreases. By acting upon that knowledge, you are doing good deeds which allows your iman to increase. And he mentions the ayah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala where he says, وَالَّذِينَ اهْتَدَوْا زَادَهُمْ هُدًى وَآتَاهُمْ تَقْوَاهُمْ. That those who have been guided, we will increase them in guidance. And then he mentions the statement of Shawkani in his tafsir, increasing them in iman. What it means by increasing them in guidance is increasing them in iman and in knowledge and insight of the religion. Then the Shaykh mentions a number of points of what or examples of what it means by acting upon that knowledge. And he says that the person preserves praying the daily prayers, the 5 obligatory prayers. And he also prays those nawafil prayers and sunnah al-rawatib, and he recites Quran, and he does istighfar, especially in the last third of the night, and he does the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially the morning and the evening adhkar, and he stays away from the gatherings where idle talk is and where backbiting is taking place, and he preserves and protects his tongue. And this is how he acts upon that knowledge. And then the Shaykh says, if a person does not act upon that knowledge, then he is from the ignorant. He's not a person of knowledge. Whether he could have memorized Bukhari or Muslim, that person is ignorant. And he mentions a statement of Fudayl ibn Iyad rahimahullah, where he says, a scholar, he remains ignorant until he acts upon that knowledge. Once he acts upon that knowledge, then he is considered a scholar. And then the Shaykh, he says that the person who does not act upon that knowledge, he will be from the losers on Yawm al-Qiyamah. And he mentions the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is authentic, which is in Tirmidhi, and Tirmidhi said is hadithun hasanun sahih. He mentions that a person's feet will not move. He mentions that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, a person's feet will not move on Yawm al-Qiyamah until he is asked about 4 things. From them, he will be asked about his knowledge and what he did regarding that knowledge. And then the Shaykh moves on and he makes another point. And he says that the person who does not act upon that knowledge, he is worse than a person who is ignorant. Because the ignorant person is excused, he doesn't know. But this person knows and he still doesn't act upon it. And he is from one of the first 3 people who will be thrown into the hellfire. As you know from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, the first three people to be thrown into the hellfire are whom? Are the person who fought in the way of Allah, the person who taught the Islamic sciences, and the person who gave a lot of charity, but they all did this not for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and due to that they were thrown into the hellfire. And then hence the famous poem وَعَالِمٌ بِعِلْمِهِ لَمْ يَعْمَلًا مُعَذَّبٍ مِنْ قَبْلِ عُبَّادِ الْوَثَنِ, that the person or the scholar or the one with knowledge who does not act upon this knowledge, he will be punished before the worshipper of idols. And then he brings the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he says, وَالْقُرْآنُ حُجَّةٌ لَكَ أَوْ عَلَيْكَ. And this is in Muslim, and hadith number 23 from Arba'in al-Nawawiyah, that the Quran will be a proof for you or against you on the Day of Judgment. How will it be a proof for you? For you on Yawm al-Qiyamah, it will say, oh Allah, he learned what was inside of me and he acted upon me. But if you didn't, it will say the opposite. Hence, it will be a proof against you on Yawm al-Qiyamah. And finally, the Shaykh, he says that the one who has knowledge but does not act upon it, then he is like the Jews. And the one who has knowledge, or the one who acts but has no knowledge, he is like the Christians. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِينَ, that we ask to not be on the path of those who have earned Allah's anger and those who have gone astray. Those who have earned Allah's anger are the Jews. Why? Because they had knowledge, they knew that the Prophet ﷺ was the final messenger, but they didn't act upon it. And the Christians, because they have action but they have no knowledge. And then the Shaykh at the end, finally, he finishes off this and he says, ومقصود الشريعة في تحصيل العلم, the point or the objective of the Sharia in attaining knowledge, هو العمل به, it is acting upon it. Because by acting upon it, this will allow a person to gain the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his heart and get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us beneficial knowledge, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us his khashiyah and to allow us to become closer to him. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.